Okay.
Joe Crittenden. Here. Bill Anglin.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Arthur Connor. Don Garvin.
Honey.
Chuck Hoskin. Bill Johnson.
Here.
Taylor Keene.
Here.
John Keener.
Here.
Jackie Bob Martin. Glenda O'Leary. Navana Shophouse. David Thornton. Cherokee Watts. Phyllis Shargey.
Next is approval of the minutes of the October 26th regular session. Are there any additions or corrections? Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. November 13th, the special session we had. Any corrections or addition to those?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the November 13th special session minutes? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next on the agenda are reports. Mrs. Wright of the Marshal Service. Anyone here?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the council. Sharon wasn't able to be here today. She's got another meeting, so she asked me to come. What I'd like to report on from our patrol division, we had, for the month of October, 27 arrests. Domestic violence cases were 15. Alcohol-related arrests, 36. Drugs and drug control substances, 9. Assist with any child welfare, 8. 5 community functions, and 105 assist with other agencies. In narcotics, we had, let me first go back to our investigations. Recently, we had 1 conviction to the Eastern District for child sexual abuse, 1 conviction for a school bus shooting that occurred in Steelwell, where somebody shot at the school bus as it was going by guys testified to that, and they were found guilty. I think they're found guilty. For C&E, we have one case in particular that what it was these fictitious bogus checks which were popping up here and there, and they first appeared, I believe, in the northern in Catoosa Casino. And then there was another for $8,000 farther south. I believe it was Rowan or might even in Tahlequah. But that was taken to the U.S. Attorney. They declined to do anything about it. Then a individual in Tulsa, who's on Tulsa News, received a bundle of these checks written out to him with the instructions for him to cash them in a certain amount to, I think it was Nigeria or something like that. So the Channel 6 got involved. We're going to try to reapproach that and see if we can get something done that way. We're waiting on a tribal court on an assault and battery of the juvenile, which was declined by the Northern District. And we just received a case in Delaware County on elderly abuse that we're beginning to investigate. On our narcotics, we had 3 arrests for manufacturing of a controlled substance, 3 arrests for possession of methamphetamine, and 7 for possession of marijuana and paraphernalia. I brought a press release here. This is from Friday. It's not from the month of October. It's from Friday, and it entails the Eastern District. An individual received 60 years for this network of methamphetamines operations that he was operating in eastern Oklahoma. He was the last one. He was the one that organized and orchestrated all this together. He had an individual out of Oklahoma City who was supplying him with the pills to make this stuff, and he was receiving and having this ammonia in large amounts. This originated out of one of the casinos, out of an arrest at a casino, and the U.S. Attorney had said this was probably the largest operation in eastern Oklahoma and possibly the region. And this is just the first stage of it. There's other individuals farther north here, mainly in Washington County, that we're going to try to do something with later on. But he was the final one on this. And in our community, for the month of October, NSU sponsored a course detailing guns, gangs, and firearms-related violent crimes, and organized for a project for safe neighborhoods. Frankie Dreffelwater was asked to give a presentation there, which he did. He had also attended various meetings in the Cherokee Airport Committee to get the organization started in promoting safe neighborhoods. They were active in the Red Ribbon Week and showed some anti-drug videos to the Peavine and Zion schools in conjunction with this event. Another officer presented to Nevada and Cherokee Heights Head Start regarding personal safety, and they also were in the Cherokee Head Start for the annual Halloween event. And they are planning to do some indoor activities for the coming months. I believe that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Redcorn? Yes. Gene?
Mr. Redcorn, any comment you can make on the federal case involving Cherokee Nation Enterprises right now?
Cherokee Nation Enterprises? I haven't been briefed on that. Sharon's been working with that with those individuals, and I really don't have that much information based on it.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
You said that when every time the school bus was shot at, it was somebody shot at was driving by, or?
I'm not certain how it happened, but the school bus was driving by, and it shot at the school bus, and Ben Smith was the first one there, so he was able to get the information to testify and get put guilty.
involves a county employee who was driving a road grader in Delaware County, and he was shot at from. And at first they said it was a BB gun, but I don't know, and I can't find anything about it. It was my brother that was driving the road grader, and the glass shattered, and it wasn't a BB gun because the road graders they take more than a BB gun. I think that you shot that car, it shattered underneath his seat.
Where was it?
It was by Joe. He was on, I can't remember what the road he was on, but I hadn't found anything where anything's been pursued to investigate it. To me, that's a.
I'm not aware of that.
It was a young man that did it, like 12 or 13-year-old that did that, and but if he does, but if he took it to school, probably takes it into school, but
Actually, and getting back to what you're talking about the school, one of our we did an investigation on this J school. They had received a threat. They were going to shoot up the school, and the problem with we did 2 warrants, one for the IP address, and we got the IP address. Then we went to the server, did another warrant, found out where it originated. Actually originated out of Arkansas on a former student that used to go to school in J. That's where the problem lies. The juvenile. We talked with the FBI, but the parents were so cooperative, and they were trying to get it either heard in district court in Delaware County or wherever the threat came from, which is in Arkansas. But we're still waiting to hear from the DA's office in Delaware County whether or not they're going to pursue it. But getting back to your situation, it is a felony to throw anything at a moving vehicle, regardless of whether it's a BB gun, .22, whatever, even if it's a rock. It's still a felony.
Who would you talk to, the DA to pursue it?
I would probably talk to the sheriff first and see where it's gone to. If it was outside the city limits, if it was in the city limits.
Out of the city limits, it's between J and Rose.
Okay. Then I would talk to the sheriff first. Any questions?
Any other questions, comments? Well, thank you, Mr. Reporter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Counsel?
Justice Department, Ms. Hammonds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Council. In the last month, I attended an HOSDA training conference in Oklahoma City. I spoke at the University of Kansas at the invitation of Justice Leeds at a conference there. 2 of our lawyers went to the State Bar Association meeting in Oklahoma City. Ms. Hale also went to that state meeting. We have been, or I have particularly been working the last few days or the last few weeks on a petition for declaratory relief in conjunction with your council regarding questions about the upcoming election and the application of the 99 Constitution and the proposed redistricting plan in staggered terms, asking for the court's assistance in construing some of those things. I argued the tobacco arbitration case 2 weeks ago in Oklahoma City against the Attorney General's office. That was a closed proceeding next Monday at 1 o'clock. Pardon me. We go back to Oklahoma City. The panel has called us back. I assume either to give us their ruling or ask additional questions. That's on the 18th. Our staff attorneys and interns and paralegals continue to work with the Marshal Service and some of the task groups on updating our domestic violence and methamphetamine codes. We had 2 pretty big wins in Indian child welfare cases in the last month. Sarah Hill won a case on appeal out of Kansas. Kansas is one of those jurisdictions where we just have to fight for the Indian Child Welfare Act all the time. It's new to them every time we go. And, of course, the Act's been in existence for 30-some-odd years now. The Act had been violated and an Indian child placed inappropriately, and Sarah was able to get that child returned to its family here in our jurisdiction, and the case transferred to tribal court, and the Kansas Appellate Court has upheld that thus far. It's still on appeal. But that was a big win at the district court level and preliminarily at the appellate court level for Ms. Hill and for the department. Mr. Morton also had a pretty big win in an Indian child welfare case in Tulsa County. Once again, the act had been violated, placement had been made outside the preferences of the act, and the protections that parents are allowed hadn't been followed. The case had been going on for a year. Mr. Morton was able to get all of that set aside and go back to the original adjudication so that the parents could get a case plan and act to be followed. Those are just the highlights, some of the highlights of what we've been doing the past month. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Baker?
Yes, Madam Chairman, if I could, Madam Attorney General, there was a lawsuit in federal court.
Sir?
The federal judge pretty much, and correct me if I'm stating this wrong, ruled that the Attorney General would probably be the proper person to try to get the Cherokee people's money back.
I don't think the federal judge really addressed that. It seems to me that the federal judge more centered on who could file a securities case. It was more associated with securities law. Certainly implicitly you could say that.
Okay.
Our district court specifically said that. Judge Fite said that.
Okay. Well, that being said,
Sir?
I would at this time like to turn you over with documentation for you to look over and see if it's within your purview and authority to pursue the Cherokee people $6.2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
That's it.
Any
Anything
other
else?
questions? Yes, Mr. King.
Madam Chair. Ms. just could you explain a little bit further about the measures being brought forward for redistricting and reapportionment? Will the measures be clarified there? I mean, I think we're sort of in limbo here.
That's-
How can help?
That's exactly the what the lawsuit is supposed to address, and Mr. Hembry had asked me to send it over here. I got the final about 5 minutes before I walked over here, so I didn't get that done. I apologize for that, but we have it here. The questions presented. Shall I just read them, or you want to summarize them?
I would say just read them. They're not that long, and
Okay.
say these are the questions that we are going to put forward to the court. If after hearing them, and if there's any suggestions that you all would have, now's the time to.
Because it has
to
not
speak.
been filed.
It has not been filed yet, but we contemplate filing it today. So here we go.
Okay.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Why can't we get copies of this where we can read along with them?
You certainly can. While we're getting those made, our plan is to give the court a copy of this council's act. The number escapes me now, 3605, I think, which is up for vote on the override veto override. A copy of that, a copy of the existing election law, just because it's kind of hard to find the last clean copy of it, codified, so we were going to give the court that, and then also give the court the raw data that information system put together that the council used in making the districting geographical boundaries. So we were going to give the court all of that information and then present the questions. The court is going to have to weigh in. I mean, some things are just not answered by the Constitution, and they present quandaries for the nation, like the staggered terms. How do you do that when the Constitution says 4 years? That's a question that we present. We present the question of
But the first major
term
question,
limits.
well, yeah, the first major question is, what is a district? Does the Constitution require 15 separate districts within the 14 county jurisdiction? If that answer is yes, the act that you all passed that we consider tonight is right on. If the court says no, it automatically reverts back to the previous law. Because if the law is unconstitutional, it reverts back to the previous act. So you'll get it here in front of you. here in just a moment. But the staggered terms, you might explain the nepotism item. You have more to do with that than I did. So.
Yes, and I did at the request of administration. There's a question in there at the bottom about the existing nepotism statute and whether or not that present constitutionally impermissible barriers to otherwise qualified candidates. The chief asked that to be included. He thinks it's an important question that we'd like to have the court's guidance on.
One thing I want to add is that I appreciated the opportunity to work with the Attorney General on this. This is, I think, a good example of both branches of the government working together to solidify or focus the questions that need to go to the court, and it was a very good exercise in good government, in my opinion.
There are questions that matter to all of us and the nation as a whole. The court is going to have to be the ultimate arbiter of. While this is being passed around, let me just tell you a little bit about how this is laid out. We have a statement of facts which just briefly outlines, when the 1999 Constitution was implemented and what case, and puts in the language regarding districts, cites the election code, and talks a little bit about the history of how we got where we are now. Legal requirements, cites to the Constitution again. The two cases, we have two Cherokee Nation court cases that have dealt with redistricting. The case brought by former Councilmember Lay, and then Terrell versus Cherokee Nation Election Commission. There's some language in there that might be helpful to the court, but not a whole lot. We cite to a foreign jurisdictions law about what reasonably equal means. Cite to our statutes that are brought into play, and then what we'll read to you are the issues presented for the court. There are 7 of them, and that is, we don't have the pages numbered, but that is page 3. Number 1, does Article 6, Section 3 of the Cherokee Constitution call for 1 counselor to be elected per district and thus require 15 separate districts to be developed within the Cherokee Nation jurisdictional area? Number 2, does the proposed plan, we defined that earlier, that's the one passed by this body, provide for a reasonably equal division of citizenships among the districts as required by the Cherokee Constitution? If the current districting scheme under LA 3905, that's the old one, is maintained, should the number of council members per district remain the same or be increased, decreased proportionately to the data provided by Information Services? Number 3, does the change of districts in the proposed plan, which occurs after the expiration of the 270-day residency time limit required by LA 3905, violate the Constitution or otherwise infringe upon Cherokee citizens' right to relocate and or to run for office? Number 4, did the council use reasonable data to apportion the representative districts in LA 3506 in that they used Cherokee voters by zip codes and then proportioned those numbers based on the percentage of land mass of border zip codes with the jurisdictional boundaries? Number 5, given the Supreme Court's ruling that the 99 Constitution became effective on July 26, 2003, but that the council members, principal chief, and deputy chief were elected under the authority of the 1975 Constitution, what is the effect of the term limits prohibitions found in Article 6, Section 2, and Article 7, Sections 1 and 3 on individuals currently holding office? Number 6, in accordance with Article 6, Section 3 of the Cherokee Nation Constitution, the council is required within 1 year of the Constitution taking effect to establish a system of staggered terms. Is it permissible in the 2007 Cherokee election cycle to elect certain council members to a 6-year term in order to comply with the staggered terms requirement? Number 7, do the prohibitions against employment of certain relatives of elected officials found in Titles 19 and 51 above present constitutionally impermissible barriers to otherwise qualified candidates? And then it's going to be submitted by Mr. Hembry and me.
Are there any questions, or Mr. King?
Is the actual number 15 being questioned as well? With part of this, and how many districts shall there be? Or is that not?
I think that's number one. Or that's the
Well,
right.
A lot of the confusion, I think, for the council has been, what is it?
Right.
Mine was brought up, maybe it's clear in the Constitution, that 15, does that be specified further, or does that be specified in?
What we're asking is, are there supposed to be 15 districts? Can there be one district with 15 seats? Can there be 3 districts with 5 seats? What does the Constitution require? I mean, there can be and has been much, discussion, intelligent, reasoned discussion on both sides of the issue. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I understand what the Constitution says, but that's what we're attempting to read.
I think the question number one is specific enough because simply it states under Article 6, Section 3 of the Cherokee Constitution, call for one counselor to be elected per district. And we clarify that, and thus require 15 separate districts to be developed within the Cherokee Nation jurisdiction area. So yes or no question. And they'll expound on that, but they'll either say yes, it does require 15 separate districts, or no, it doesn't, and why.
Sorry, Chair. Just a couple more
Go
questions.
ahead.
With regard to timing, I know it's being question whether or not individuals' rights are not being allowed to go in innocent days in the office. Is there an additional question on timing as to what it needs to be acted upon in the Constitution perspective? That's what our big question here is, is there an implied time provision and done by in the Constitution that said that by the next election, so that would describe it in 2009?
Certainly, the sooner the better. We stated in that beginning paragraph we didn't read verbatim. Time is of the essence because fighting for the elected offices of the nation began in March 2007. We obviously can't try to put any sort of deadline on the court other than to urge the court as much as possible. Time is of the essence.
I don't know. Kind of looking for your discussion here too. But again, one of the questions for this body was, we don't have to do this now before the election. I thought in the Constitution it was implied that we had it done by the next election.
Well, I mean, that's really the essence of the declaratory judgment. We cite the constitutional provision that question, and they will tell us.
Matter of fact, we're forcing the issue.
Yeah, we're forcing the issue right now.
Last question, with regard to the second term, the test is for a 6-year time. Is there, are you asking a 6-year question rather than a 2 and a 4-year? Is that implied there as well? I mean, that was, I think 6 years was constitutional.
Well, we could say, and I had thought about that issue, because we do specifically state a 6-year term. It wouldn't be hard to reword that phrase to say, is it permissible in Cherokee Nation election cycle to elect certain counselors to a term other than 4 years?
Right.
Say that.
Yeah, we could say that, and I think we might change it. I think that would probably that opens it for everybody, other than 4 years.
What I was interested in was what are we going to do about the at-large? Are you going to run it just the same way the Constitution says? That the 2 seats at-large or what?
The 2 seats at large are, I think, in my opinion, are is pretty well defined in the Constitution. There are 2 seats outside of the jurisdictional area of the Cherokee Nation that, if you live outside of the 14 counties, you get to vote on each one of those seats.
Well, then the election commission is going to have to follow the Constitution as to notify the people about it.
Absolutely. And that's it's a statutory provision that they're going to have to do.
And follow the law as written.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Baker?
And going back to Taylor's, if the 2 year is an option, then I think that we would want answered a little bit further. Would a shortened 2 year term constitute a full term as far as term limit? I mean, you know, the Constitution says that you have 2 terms, but if the 2 year term, I mean, 6 and you're out, or, I mean, that would be, I guess, follow up to it, to what, I mean, somebody runs for a shorter term, does it mean that it is a full term, and consequently they can serve 8 as the Constitution, at least, what everybody believes that, you know, 8 years would be, a full term.
Or 2 full terms.
Yeah, right. A maximum.
Right.
Yeah.
We can add that question in there. I think that we could flush out that point completely in an argument and in briefing. So, and I think that the court will get the gist of the issue. So it'd be up to it's up to obviously the will of the body. But in my opinion, I think we could flush that out just as well in the briefing and argument. Do you agree? Or
I think so. I think it's almost implicit. The court says that, and they're going to have to at some point say that there's a way to do this. Then
Yeah.
what would the effect be?
If we ask the question, then it won't be implied, it will be cut and dry.
Explicit.
okay.
But we'll be right back where we were, that, had to ask for another declaratory judgment.
Okay.
If they come back, say, 2 year term, if it's 6 year term.
We can form a question to that, and don't you think, real quick?
Mm-hmm. What would the effect of shortened or lengthened term?
Would a shortened term constitute a full term as to, in accordance with Article Section 2, Article 7, Sections 1 and 3 of the Cherokee Constitution?
Well, what would, if you do a 6 year, what would that do?
Well, please, the only question.
What would the term have though?
We'll get that question in.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Baker? Other
Yes.
Baker?
Would that also apply Taylor Vine's current term, whether it would be the full term or not? As far as whether this is our first term, and then if we were reelected next year, that would be our second term?
Well, let's see how you do that.
Is the effect on individuals currently holding office?
You're included because you are an individual currently holding office. All right, and we'll just with that'll be again. I think we could
I can
make that.
include that. The only difference would be they were not included in that language of individuals currently holding under 75, but they would be a special case of individuals holding under
Right.
99.
We can get that in there.
Okay. Mr. Keene and then Mr. Baker again.
Madam Chair, the only other clarification I see was the Constitution that had language pertaining to elected executive terms. Maybe that'd be another way to look at the clarification.
Okay.
And I guess that then it comes down to will we be elected by the council or will we be appointed to the seats and a lot of confusion.
Well, as to elected, you were not elected by the council. You were appointed to this position. I think any time that.
Well, maybe clarification.
Right. Yeah, I understand, but
That would say that this is not constitute a full term.
okay.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Okay, what do you
Another clarification needs to be put in there for May versus the majority of the council and the chief being elected in the first round and deputy the Constitution passed. In other words, the majority body was elected under the old Constitution, there's no doubt. But the deputy chief and Don were elected the same day that the Constitution was passed.
Oh, on the runoff. I understand your question. I don't.
There could be a difference.
There could be a difference, so I think that's
I think
definitely
so.
one that we can make the court aware of that nuance, but and flush it out in the briefing of it.
I think they specifically included the deputy chief in their itemization of these officers are currently holding under the 75.
Yeah.
So certainly they would include the government. Is an interesting question that we need to answer now.
I think the question is already council you asked me because theoretically a councilor could win later or 6 months later gone this council appoints. So I think that type of hearing
Not for the
year, but regularly for 4.5 years.
Madam Chair. I have one question. One person, one vote. What about the at-large council people? If would they not fall under one man, one vote Constitution? Because if they both at-large council people are elected in, say, California, and their roads money goes to them, they're going to pool that roads money together by themselves. And then the East Coast may not see a dime of it. Because we're spending strips of our pulling money back in our district. At large people, I can see that becoming a one-time money for two people, and we're not going to have that opportunity.
Well, in my opinion, I would say that council people can be elected at large because the Constitution. I mean, what is the Constitution, what is the constitutional debate, but it is there. Draft packets take a parallel and wrap wrap around the world, to the east, west side of the globe, or north, south side of the globe, and there were questions of whether we had the ability to, the authority to find districts outside of our jurisdictional area. It is a very interesting situation because you do have citizenship now that one, if you live in West Muscogee County, you get two people. If you live in East Muscogee County, you get vote one. That is a and we formulate a question, and the reason I says at large is because in the Constitution they are elected at large.
And part of that discussion, council member came during the I remember talking about like the King of Spain France used to, where they divided up the globe. If you remember 7th grade social studies, are we going to do that? And I think slips in it since then, but I think that the rationale was because that is so diluted, that population outside 14 areas is so diluted everywhere, basically across the globe, that it would be equitable for those people to have those two at-large votes. Now, I understand your point, but that's the way that it all shook out in the end. And, we had representation from Mexico and California, and those people were very vocal. And the Constitution, the language itself, the reason that we didn't include it was that the language itself in the Constitution is fairly clear. But it is an interesting question.
It could be tough.
Well, if it's something that should be challenged, we need to ask that question. We don't need to be piecemealing these things. We're trying to answer all the questions that are humanly possible about the new election cycle right now. So in that regard, I think it's...
Does the at-large system violate the rationale of the rationale of one Cherokee, one vote?
Sure.
Tyler, Diane, when do you plan to file this?
We have to file.
We can do it. I would like to get a file today.
Would the council like to see the final version before it's presented? Diane, Todd, do you mind getting the council a copy of that before you file it?
No.
And we will have it, we may file it tomorrow. But I would recommend that we formulate a question, get it to them at the full council meeting tonight. Again, have the opportunity to ask any questions tonight, and with the idea that we'll file it tomorrow.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
King.
Good input. I talked to him. This was like a
One more
move forward.
question, Diane.
Just to on Councilman Haynes' question there regarding that large, the provisions, the one person goes to that large, then how do we satisfy the criteria for using the simplified district?
I think that's what we struggled with at the convention and agreed that we very good questions.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ms. Hammond.
Thank you.
Election Commission, as you know, Mrs. Morgan's mother passed, I think it was last night, and so she was not able to be here. However, she did provide us a copy of the letter that they plan to mail out at the end of the week to the at-large voters. Would you like a moment to look that over? Does everybody have a copy? Do you have a copy? Check it out. Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
On this, black number 2, outside of damage, regulations needed not previously registered to vote. If you registered to vote after 03, wouldn't you fall under this category? I mean, it wouldn't be starting this month or next month, whenever this is passed, or this is sent out. Because the way I read the Constitution, and the justices converted back to 03, then if you registered from 03 up to now, then you could fall under these questions.
I understand. And I'm sure this is recorded for prosperity. The justices really did us a disservice by retroactively, quote, implementing the Constitution 3 years before it actually gave an order to do so. Okay. I mean, if you go from, it's impossible for anyone to have known, in July of 2003 that you were going to have to register as to rules that were going to be prescribed from the bench in July of '06. Okay. To answer your question, I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, it is a quandary that put us in, and I really just can't tell you the answer off the top of my head.
Well, it seems to me that over after the elections, and you get to follow the rules of the Constitution. Didn't register now and then follow the Constitution. If you register both sides, then you would follow these same rules of the Constitution, under the Constitution.
Well, de facto, you get that option anyway. This is the first time I've
don't have an option.
Well,
You vote 25,
if you're
district large, you don't have an option.
but if you're already registered,
Well, if you register no vote,
but still,
you have an option to go back to over 3,000.
I see your point. Yeah, because I've never seen this letter. I'm trying to think on it on the spot.
Because they said the
Yeah, if you're over 25 and you registered in '04 and you live outside the boundaries of the Cherokee Nation, you're at large.
you vote wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have no choice.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to be. That's a problem. And it's a problem because of a retroactive.
It's a problem with the Constitution.
Well, I know, but then again, you didn't know what the rules were, at the time. No, we didn't, and that's. Well, it passed in the 2003 election.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a question where you're going to need to delve into. I wonder, and this is just, do they have the ability to call out those who were registered since July 2003? Yeah. It might be that they get, and I don't even know, I have no clue of what size pool of people we're looking at. I'm assuming several thousand.
Well, I'm saying you're going to have a pool.
Yeah.
Two votes for that. Because we're going to vote the same way they did last time, we won't have to do a pool to vote for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to find out that pool of people and send them a specific letter. That would be my
That's what they're doing.
yeah.
Going by the Constitution, right?
Well, like I said, this is the first time I just picked it up off the table here just a couple of minutes ago. What I would recommend, if this really takes no action, is now that we all have a copy of it, is that will they meet Thursday? Did the election?
I think they do. And we have the rules for Thursday.
Let's discuss this at the Thursday rules meeting, and also see I'll see if we can get some time during the comment period during the election commission's office and talk with them about it also, because a very, very important issue.
So we're going to take the ball now.
I want to take the ball. I want to, number one, read this letter.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, thanks, Todd. Mr. Hoskin?
Todd, in your reading, and I know we're going to move on from here, but I want to
people outside the boundaries prior to this having no representation on the council, that's actually false. Each voter selected district registry, and therefore they had a minimum.
Todd, will you put that on your list for
Yeah.
Thursday?
I think also there's a question out there, if you do nothing, you're automatically going to be put in.
I think that states that in the parentheses at the end of each one of those sections. But also on the registration page, the second page, the only block they have for the at-large voters is that little corner down the left-hand side. I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit, make it easier for the folks to understand. If they choose at large, then that section will be run. You see what I'm talking about?
No.
Cherokee.
Okay.
Mr. Anglin?
Thank you. I know you did draft this up, but this is going to go out this week. These people are going to choose to see the veto tonight is written. These districts will no longer be districts.
That's correct.
And that's going to cause mass confusion on this out all over the United States of people going, they choose, say, for instance, District 8, they choose District 8, but then they come find out they're going to do District 4. Total mass confusion there. District 6, I can see where in the new redistricting plan, where Salina's going to be over with District 5, that will be in all the maybe in a different district.
Well,
So, I mean, this needs to all be flushed out. I mean, if this is going to go out, this is going to cause major confusion. Then on the back page, it's going to expand the map that's going to go out. It's calling for our district to get new resolve. And, but yet on the next page forward, it calls for a Cuba.
yeah.
Which what it is.
Right. Well, hopefully tonight there'll be some clarification about what is a district. Either the veto will be sustained or it will be overridden. If it's overridden, that's the law of the land. They're going to have to change this form drastically. If the veto is sustained, their form just needs to be tweaked a little bit. But hopefully that. And then, we could walk along and 60, 90 days down the road, the court can come back with something totally different. I don't know what that is, but if it happens, we'll just have to, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, Just deal with it as it comes. But tonight, the actions of the council will clear the picture somewhat.
But we just shouldn't be guilty of something that's stuff out. It's pretty sure.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, number one, it's confusion. It could cause confusion. It could cause as a waste of money if you have to back up and redo it again. That's why I hope with the actions of tonight's council there'll be some clarification as to what it is, and if the act is sustained or the veto is overridden, you have 15 separate districts and they're going to have to reform their deal.
I think that was one reason Mrs. Morton wanted this presented to the council, if there were objections, etc.
Yeah.
Finished, Bill? Mr. Garvin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. People have been registered every month this summer, and since the Constitution come into effect, and I know a person that's some to register in my district, at large, and they're voting there, they want to be in my district. Now, this comes together as it doesn't have an effective effect. Is this going to be effective? Addresses, or can they send it out, or does it start? Competition started. A lot of people have registered this summer, and they thought they were registered. Is that not true? Or?
Well, that is the quagmire that comes from Thornton had just mentioned earlier. I mean, what is the effective date of what is the legality of the restoration from today back to July 2003, beginning of 2003?
2006.
Well, 2006. Well, 2006 is the day of when the court made its pronouncement.
So if they registered in District 3 in July 2006, they're going to be staying there? From that large?
I don't know. I'm going to tell you that. The question is, if registered in your district from past July of 2003, okay, we're talking about a large amount of people, at-large voters that are picking districts. Okay, what is and if they're over 25 from in the strict interpretation of the Constitution, if they're over 25, they're at large. They don't get a pick.
So they've already made the choice. Now you're going to tell them they're going to choose again?
I'm not telling them anything. Probably a court is going to tell them something, but not me. I mean, because it is, and like I said, that they did us a disservice in retroactively implementing the Constitution from the some 3 years earlier.
Well, they could do orders or I got you or something like that.
Well, we'll give them that opportunity. We're definitely going to have to give them that opportunity.
Jack Baker, and then Bill John Baker, and then Mr. Keener.
Madam Chair, I would think that to verify the date of registered voters should be part of the lawsuit, as whether it goes back to the July date of the implementation.
I would agree with you. As I stated to Councilman England, let's try to answer as many questions as possible in one fell swoop. At large.
And then the other thing is, I do agree with Councilor Hoskins on whether it's the one deal here, that we should actually give them the choice of either whether it's color in category 1, category 2, or category 3.
Nothing. Point that out.
Bill John?
And you all pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's extremely premature to send it out with the override. Of course, it sends it much quicker and makes it easier on the election commissions. But even if they go with the override district with you still got to have lines on this map so that people can choose where they're voting. And just because in the last election they voted in Ugadog, it now has for it's going to be south or north, and not going to be any resemblance to this whatsoever. And then here's an element with Chelsea, and I mean, this is awful premature.
Mr. Baker. Mr. Keener?
Yes, I believe all the presentations that has been presented and well stated, and probably a lot of questions and stuff being asked and a lot of questions have been answered. But I still believe that all of this is premature, and I think anytime we have a deal like this, then I think the election commissioners ought to be on the board. And so people at the right time, at the right place, in order to get this thing worked out, so we all understand it. I don't know where we at right now. Since I'm not going to run it anymore, I'd like to get somebody. That's all.
Thanks, Mr. King. Anyone else? Ms. Hammonds, did you have a comment?
Mr. Henry asked me to point out, Ms. Johnson found it back there, Article 6, Section 3, talking about at-large voters. to continue to be registered to vote in the district in which they were previously registered. So if they previously, when I lived in Norman, I voted District 1. If I were still there, I could still choose to vote in District 1 in this first election. If I did not make the choice, then I would be registered to vote at large. Citizens under 25 who reside outside the boundaries who have not previously registered may make a single choice to register to vote in the district of their choice at the time of first registration. If they don't choose, then they'll be registered to vote at large. So this is the first time you still can vote in the district. If that clarifies.
Mr. Thornton?
I'm still saying you need to read the Constitution and go by the Constitution. If you don't have a lawsuit.
Absolutely. And I
don't think this follows the Constitution.
Okay. Mr. Thornton, I have never seen this. No one sent it to me. So I think what your comments were was this letter does not accurately reflect what the Constitution says. Okay. Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Ms. Webston, Tax Commission.
Bring Madam Chair, Council.
No.
You what? Mine's simple. Mine's pretty simple. Pretty simple, pretty short. I just wanted to kind of give you some updates. We have signed contracts for a new office space at the Adair office and the 4 offices. They'll have more space there where people can actually come in and sit down. So about 900 square feet in each location. So it'll be good for them. And we look to be in that. I'm hoping sometime in January, 1st of February. It takes a little time to get everything set up. So.
Ms. Webston, just a Baker has a question.
Yes.
Karen, I would like to commend you and your staff. I went over and got car tag last week, and there was 0 wait time. I had 2 doors, 2 counters. They were dealing with some folks were being unkind to them, but at the same time, they were right there. And I asked about what's the deal. I've never been able to get in here, and they said that from very officers and stuff, it really slowed it down to where it's manageable. And I'd like to commend you. It's been 3 years in coming, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'll pass that along to the staff because it's been a team effort to get all those offices open, and we appreciate the support of the council also in that. We have done interviews and selected a person for a second position at the Collinsville office. The demand up there has continued to grow for that office. So to appropriately attend that so we can meet the needs of the people, we are going to have a second person up there so that the wait time will be shorter there because that has continued to grow at that office. So we've got that person. We've turned our paperwork in. We'll be starting the next week or so. We'll do some training here and then they'll be out at that office. Hopefully it will help there. On your report, you'll notice for the year ending November 30th for this year for FY07, the motor vehicle has had an overall increase in revenues of 14.94% compared to this time last year. And then in the tobacco, we've had an overall increase of 88.39%, and most of that was due to the surtax that's still in effect right now on the tobacco. We will also, the revenue, I kind of want to give you an idea of how things are growing. Our Gore office from October 1 through last Friday had generated around $158,000. The Adair office, which is our busiest sub-office, generated about $250,000, and the Collinsville office had generated $183,000. So the Collinsville office is just about hit our Adair office as far as activity up there. So it is continuing to grow. Also, our next tax commission meeting will be
just one moment. Mr.
Yes,
Garvin
sorry.
has a question.
What I've done with when I've had anything to do with this Collinsville. So what I've done was we kind of looked, and we're still looking
at population areas of where the populations are and where we could serve like 35 mile radius. So we are still looking at some of the other areas because I want to try to cover the whole 14 county area and get it covered where nobody has to drive a long distance to get a tag.
Last time I saw any figures, I think Cherokee County has got the third largest sales and tags. And it looks like that would be an ideal spot for the office since they are third in the whole area. Like to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Garvin. Any other questions?
Okay. Our next tax commission meeting is December 13th, this Wednesday at 5:30, and it will be at the tax commission office. That's all I have, unless you have other questions.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Webster? Thank you for the short report. Vicki Henry, self-government. Morning.
Been a while since I've seen you.
Where you been?
In regards to Department of Interior, Tom Elkins of our staff represented the nation at a national meeting with the Indian Land Work Group in California and did a presentation on behalf of the nation on negotiated rulemaking. And I received word he did an excellent job, so we're proud of that. In November, the BIA had scheduled to do some training. We had several folks signed up to attend that. They ended up canceling that training session and just had one session on contract support costs, and we did have someone attend that on our behalf. Work continues on the Title IV amendments to the Self-Governance Act. As you'll recall, back, I believe it was in October, Paula Ragsdale attended a hearing that Senator McCain had called in regards to Title IV amendments. Since that time, Deputy Chief Joe Grayson and I were in D.C. on another meeting with the advisory committee, and the Department of Interior and a work group that's been developed to work on Title IV amendments since before my time met while we were there, so we attended that. It was a very good session. After the hearing that Senator McCain had, the department made some concessions to the tribes and was really moving that along. So that was really neat. I understand they've been working on that for a number of years. Also good news, I think I reported to you in the past in regard to some work we've been doing on the roads department with the payment process. We successfully got that payment process back to the Office of Self-Governance, and when it was there before, we didn't have nearly as many late payment issues, and so we hope that that'll also speed up the payment process that we've had issues with the last few years. The vacant position at the Department for the Director of Self-Governance is still not filled. That's still in the process. In regards to IHS, also that director position, as you'll recall, Paula Williams went to Oklahoma City to be the special assistant to John Daugherty. That position is also not filled, but the tribes will have input and some the process into the hiring process for that position. We continue to work with our D.C. office with Paula Ragsdale and the Health Department in regards to the Muskogee joint venture project. In November, we also attended the government force staff, including Don Vaughn and several of the staff. We attended
sessions that I attended, the information will assist us when we do our positive compliance review and the work that Don and our group works on a continual basis. Some of the upcoming activities we have in the near future, the first part of January is the advisory committee meetings in Washington. February the 14th and 15th is the FY 2009 national budget meetings that we will be having. And I failed to mention that we attended a meeting last week in the area office budget consultation for 2009. And from that meeting, Lieutenant Governor Cherokee of the Chickasaw will be representing us at that national meeting to present our area budget priorities there in D.C. And we have several people who will be in attendance at that. And I believe that's all I have to report, unless you have any questions. Mr. Johnson?
I don't know if you've got information on this, but in regard to our working with the Delawares, put the rider on
Does Diane, should she just step out? I know Diane and Melanie have been working on that more so than myself. As far as, I know that we were trying to get that through this particular session. That is probably not going to happen. And so we're looking at the next session. I'm looking for Diane because I haven't been intimately involved in that, but I can get you an answer today.
John?
Oh, okay.
I'm working on it. I haven't heard of there being a rider put on it. I know that we've talked with Department of Interior, had some issues with some of the language, and wanted it to be more like what was passed for the absentee Shawnee. So we had discussions with them and worked on some other language, and that's the thing. But I haven't heard of a rider being put on it. I can send an email to Paula Holder and see if she's heard anything about that. But as she said, they think that it probably gets back to the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just further comment on that. I'd love to sit this up as well. And part of the concern had to do with language in the Delaware. That you need for jurisdiction and jurisdiction as well.
Any other questions or comments from Ms. Hanley? Mr. Hummingbird, Gaming Commission. Morning.
Since it's been a while since I've graced you with my presents, I thought I'd give you your Christmas present early. Merry Christmas. Okay, I know I'm not going to be welcome back next month, I think. Let me begin by giving you an update on things on the federal level. Some of you may have heard or read in the paper about the NIGC having the setback in its quest to get control or have some input over Class 3 gaming. The D.C. Court of Appeals issued a ruling some time ago on the Colorado River Indian Tribes case that the NIGC does not have authority over Class 3. They filed an appeal with the court last Monday wanting to make sure that that their voice is still heard, that they still believe that they have that authority. I really don't expect the court to set aside its ruling. I believe what the NIGC is wanting to do is have them change some of the language in that ruling. For what reason is beyond me. I have not seen the appeal just yet, but will try to get that Class 3 authority. Along that same line, Senator McCain's bill S-2078 did not make it through this session. However, it may try to come up next year. Even though Senator McCain will not be chairman of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs as of January 1, I would expect that he might try one more attempt at getting 2078 passed. Again, if that happens, it is very, very much to the detriment of the tribes, as it does give NIGC authority for Class 3 as well as gives them approval authority over gaming contracts, which I don't think any federal agency should be approving contracts entered into by a sovereign nation, but that's what one of them would be. On the NIGC lines as well, the organization or the National Commission has also taken another step in advancing its classification and technical standards. We met with the NIGC last Tuesday to go related to the classification standard, and what they have done in that is something that is very surprising to me. It's very disturbing to me. And that is from the version that they published earlier this year in May. They have since gotten comments from across the country, from our tribe, and also from the states. What they did in this latest redraft is give the state the ability to weigh in on what games considered Class 2. If you remember anything about IGRA, IGRA simply put is Class 2 between the tribes and the Fed, Class 3 between the states and the tribes. And with this latest round, though, they are giving the ability of the state to weigh in as to whether the game played in that state is a Class 2 game. And that does not belong. There are a number of other modifications that they made that were positive, but those positive impacts were greatly outweighed by the inclusion of the state language. That information hopefully will be published so that tribes will be given the ability to comment on that, as I think that they being the tribes would voice a very loud opinion that does not belong and needs to be stricken. The NIGC is also interested in finalizing some facility license regulations. These facility licensing regulations would require tribes to provide information on existing and new facilities. That information would contain trust land status documentation, would contain all of the construction and maintenance information, environmental health and safety issues. It would contain a lot of information. I don't know exactly why they're wanting to do these facility licensing issues, other than to say that they can then vouch that the gaming facilities are all on trust land. It's kind of a long way of going around getting that information, but that's the only reason I can see that they're going to do that. There's also been a recent appointment to the NIGC. Norm DeRosier, who is the current executive director for the VA House Gaming Commission, is going to be, without any negative comments out there, he will be our next third member of the NIGC. The post was vacated earlier this year by Nelson Western, who went back to Michigan to join the law firm there. But Norm is a very, very good guy. I think he's going to be a very good addition to the NIGC, as he has frontline tribal gaming regulatory experience, whereas the members to this point have had enough. They wouldn't really know what to do in a tribal gaming regulatory setting if they were really put there. But hopefully we'll be able to get some help from Norman when he gets on to the commission. We have a lot of gaming activity going on. By gaming activity, I'm going to say that's going to be expansion and construction of facilities. As you've seen, no doubt that the West Alum Springs groundbreaking was last Thursday. We expect that a construction really start pretty soon, and hopefully we'll be able to open that facility by May or so of 2008. It's going to be a very good addition, as well as the expansions at Tusa, Roland, and elsewhere. So, my job is getting a little bit more detailed, more busy every day. As a result of my schedule being kind of convoluted, is I'm going to take some new responsibilities on in January, and I will be assuming the chairmanship of the National Tribal Gaming Commissioners and Regulators Association. That is, I'll still be here, so you're not getting rid of me that easy. That is a voluntary post that I'll be assuming with the assistance of numerous other regulators from across the country. So the organization is one that's designed to really help and assist tribal regulators, whether it be new or old at the game, and to also provide training to those individuals and a central hub for information. So it's going to be a very good organization. It's in a growth phase and has been slowly growing over the past 4 or 5 years, and I hope to add to that growth and make it a good organization. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. Finally, yes.
James, did you say that the post that you recently going to take as of January is the National Tribal Gaming Commissioners?
National Tribal Gaming Commissioners and Regulators Association.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jenny, on paper it said that Cherokee was the top, payer of revenue to the state. And then it only listed like maybe 5 or 6 other tribes. I guess my question is, they don't have any kind of support for the any tribe to pay any revenue, or I feel like they're receiving whatever corner, and why not everybody contributing their.
Well, one of the things that we've seen is, and I'll give you a very good example, one of the things that we've seen is that tribes are reluctant to get into the full implementation of the compact. By that I mean including electronic games and the table games. We've seen a great number of tribes take advantage of the table games, but do not bring in the electronics. The Creek Nation and the Osage Nation are good examples of that. In fact, I did bring a report to show you what we do pay the state, but I grabbed the wrong one. I grabbed last month, I didn't grab this month, but I'll make sure you guys get a copy of the correct version. But what we have seen is up until September of 06, just 3 months ago, the Osages and the Creeks did not bring any electronic machines into the Tulsa area. And we know that they did bring them in because our payments to Fair Meadows went down starting in September. So once they started bringing their machines in, of course that meant we paid less to Fair Meadows, but it also meant that they started paying their X percent, 4 or 5 or 6% to the state based on those machines. And some tribes have been reluctant just because they don't want to pay the state, to be blunt. But some tribes have also been holding out for some of these better machines that are just now starting to, within the last 5 months, getting into the market. The Cherokee facilities have placed large orders for machines, and as you'll see here, when you do get this, we now sport over 1,700 machines, and we're adding to that almost daily. We have a large amount of activity scheduled over the next 6 weeks to bring more of these compact machines in. So when we make these large orders, and tribes like the Chickasaws or the Choctaws place large orders, it takes the manufacturer time to create and manufacture the games and get them out to the market. So the manufacturers are having difficulty in meeting the demand that's out there as well. So there's a lot of things that go into the payments to the state. But so far this year, through October, we paid the state itself $5.9 million. Fair Meadows $1.5 million, and the Oklahoma Horse Racing Commission just over $6 million. So year to date through October, we have $13.5 million that we paid into the state. So if that trend continues, we expect to see probably around $16.5 million total going into the state and the Horse Racing Commission. That's a very long answer to a very short question.
Yeah, that makes clear my mind with understanding why, with very few.
Yeah, there are some that, like I said, that have really not fully implemented the compact, even though they've signed it, just because they don't want to pay that 6%. Their Class 2 machines are still doing very well, but the Class 3s, the compact games are coming on, really making headway. I will get a corrected copy over here to, well, I was going to call her something else, but that's just between me and her, though. Thank you.
Okay, moving on down to old business. Item 1 is Violent Crime Control, Law Enforcement Act of 94. We tabled to discuss with our constituents because there are 3 enhancements to law enforcement in those being the death penalty, 3 strikes, mandatory life, and juveniles 13, 14 years old would be considered adults for violent crimes. Is there any action that you would like to take on this particular act? Motion to table and been seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, it is tabled. Item 2 is an act relating to elections, amending the election law concerning staggered terms. Mr. Baker?
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I've been thought about this, and although we believe that 4 and 6 year terms ought to be what it is, I think if we're going to ask the courts to tell us if a 6 year term is possible, in our system we ought to revise it so that the 6 year term, if it's constitutional, otherwise whoever gets a 6 year term will serve a 2 year term. And I think it's clear in the Constitution that we are to stagger terms. And Todd's suggestion was just draw straws, or draw numbers out of the hat. And if you draw, if District 1 draws a 6 year term, and it would be written out in the 6 year term, but with the caveat that if the criminal finds the 6 year term unconstitutional, that becomes a 2 year term, and everybody that draws a 4 year term would stay 4 year term no matter what. Now, I'm not crazy about the drawing of numbers as Todd recommended, simply because there could be 2 6 year terms or 2 year terms in a county. And my preference would be to go from 1 through 15 and just flip a coin and say heads will be 6 year terms, and 1, 3, 5, 9, and that way it'll separate this as well as the at-larges to fit that. So I will make a proposal in the form of a motion that we run in blanks in that manner.
Have a second? A second. Any discussion? Mr. Baker?
Question is, when would the election take place, right? I think that it should take place after the election, and everyone is on the same playing field in the election, where they're working for a term for the council, and then after they are elected, then they find out whether it's a 2 year, 4 year, 6 year term, so that people are campaigning the same way.
Mr. Baker?
Well, I disagree. I think that if they believe it's a 6 year term, they would probably be willing to spend more money than if it was a 2 year term. And I think that from a financial page that tell you, I mean, the only thing that won't be answered at that point is if the tribunal comes back and you do a 6-year term, it might end up being a 2-year term. So, you know, that's just luck of the draw. But we've got the Constitution, Saturday term, and so my motion stands.
Mr. Garvin?
I think we're trying to get the cart before the horse here on this situation, and I think we should wait until what the court says to Diane's court case, and I'll make a motion to table this until we hear from that.
Second.
Move to table in a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call. Yes, it's to table, no, it's not.
Bill Ashman? Bill John Baker?
No.
Jack Baker?
Yes.
Audra Connor? Joe Crittenden? Fraley?
Yes.
Don Garvin?
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin? Bill Martin? Taylor Dean? Johnny Keener? Jack Bob Martin? Linda O'Leary?
No.
Nevada Shophouse?
Yes.
David Thornton?
No.
Carol Callen Watts? Louis Fargy? 8 yea,
8 to table,
6 nay.
7 no. So we'll table that, and did we have a time on this? Mr. Garvin, did you make the motion to table?
Just table until we hear from the court.
Okay. All right, moving on to item 3 is an act relating to employment of relatives of elected officials under the Title 28 Ethics. Let's see. Becky, are you doing that, or is Diane?
Move the table.
Have a motion to table, second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
We have 2. Item 4 is an act amending the provision of employment of relatives of elected officials within the first degree in the Cherokee Nation government and its instrumentalities. Mr. Thornton.
I brought this forward, but since I've read the nepotism laws that we have from codes and the ethics codes, I think we've already got one of this set of codes and nepotism and ethics that we have. I think if we have any problems passing anything else that we're going to have to deal here, that we're going to break corruption, and I think that we need to have these laws enforced, or these codes enforced that we have now that are not being enforced. But with that, I think we have good codes, and I'm going to withdraw this.
Item 4, you are withdrawing.
Right.
Item 5 is an act amending Title 51 officers of the Cherokee Nation Code relating to duties of Attorney General. Ms. Johnson.
Do you want me to briefly discuss what's in here, or?
Why don't you both?
Okay. This act was written based on the 1999 Constitution's implementation, where it provides that the council shall prescribe the duties of Attorney General. Currently, there is a code that places some duties on the Attorney General, and that one.
Sorry, Chair, clarify that there's 2 copies here. There's one that's red line on it, and there's one with bigger font. So I asked Ron to put together possible amendments here, and some of those provisions, along with others, are illustrated. The red line version is underlined and black and white.
Does everyone have a copy of that?
Yeah. There's
is a resolution confirming the nomination of Kenneth Limore as a board member of the Cherokee Nation of Employee Appeals Board. Mr. Limore has been ill and he couldn't be here today. Is someone sponsoring his nomination? Second, any discussion on Mr. Limore's appointment? Who is
Hey there.
when you know. It's currently in the housing. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the nomination of Mr. Limore, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Number 2 is a resolution confirming the nomination of Angela Pettit, board member of CNI. Moved in second. Is she employed?
Yeah, she's
Hi, Angela. Want to come forward?
I know where she
that's a good thing.
Angela, you'll be representing the employees, the body there on the board. Okay. Anybody have any questions of Angela? Marvin City. Any questions? How are things going at CNI?
Pretty good. Got some contacts and things just going along. Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All in favor of Ms. Pettit's nomination, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Yeah, and item 3 is an act amending the game and fish law, establishing provisions for hunting and fishing. Yes. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Call for a question.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. They want to go to lunch.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4 is an act amending language provisions relating to the Cherokee syllabary. Mr. Baker.
Madam Chairman, I moved to pass this, and since that time, I've talked to some Cherokee speakers and elders, and they have told me that they will agree that we need 7 additional characters. So I will move that we table this and try to figure out what those 7 characters that we really need are, and give this council time to think.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Table. Item 5 is an amendment to the preservation of Cherokee culture at Cherokee Nation facilities. Mr. King, are you familiar with this? You want to take that?
Yes, this was, we had some clarification to the subcommittee as the allocation of the 1% down members of the Cherokee Nation back all into the agreement well.
In second, any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Item 6 is an amendment to protecting threatened traditional Cherokee cemeteries. Johnson, is that one yours? Oh, Mr. Baker.
It's the one that we're striking and most people about the Cherokee Nation. But it's got that Cherokee. And then also I have a Bible about information.
on some of the wording that came out of Judge C's decision on the G case, primarily that it was held that the 7 counselors did not have standing in this because they did not purchase the stock and that they were not the beneficiaries. That and the order was specific in there that says the entity that bought this stock was GE, were the board of directors of DPG, and based on the wording of the order, it was suggested that that the initial discussions of the Corporation Reform Act come forward, and the idea that we review the entire act and see where the council could retain more oversight vis-a-vis our current corporation laws without getting into the realm of micromanagement. So the purpose of the agenda item.
Yes. With the decision of the Common Court and the federal judge, there are very problems with our Constitution of being the financial oversight will make law and the Cherokee Nation, as we with the council, the people
we need to take control of the purse strings. This council's been lax. We've set up corporations, we've set up LLCs, we've set up all kind of boards. It's taken away our authority here as a council. It's time this council got off their behind and accepted the authority people elected us to do, and that is to have financial oversight over these entities, where we don't have these excursions of mismanagement of any of the entities, and also the thievery of monies possibly out there. And I think that this is something we really, really need to take a real hard look at as a council and assume our roles and responsibilities to our people.
Anyone else? Any other comments, suggestions? Mr. King.
Yes, Madam Chair, I certainly agree that there have been problems with due diligence in the process in the past. I'm working with Doug Evans right now. It takes some time to do, but loosely based on Sarbanes-Oxley legislation that was put in
corporation or association without approval of the council. That words mean things, and you read these words and you go with a strict interpretation of that. That power's extremely vast. Often it would hinge on, what is the credit of the Cherokee Nation? Are these entities the Cherokee Nation, or are they instrumentalities, or if they're half-breeds of them, what are they? What is CNE? Is CNE the Cherokee Nation? Is CNI the Cherokee Nation? These are all questions that, as Mr. Baker said, we have 17 people around this table, and we have a lot more throughout the Cherokee Nation that really needs to get down here and look at it, to see, number one, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Number two, if it does need to be reformed, what is that reform? What are those reforms? There's an old saying down in the South region. You never want the tail to wag the dog. Here we have a very strong government that owns completely at least one corporation that literally generates millions and millions of dollars. And it's important that you all uphold your constitutional authority to make sure that everything's fine. And I'm not saying everything's not fine, but if it's a topic to be discussed, there's not a plan on earth that hadn't been made better. So we want to, I would recommend that all of you read our corporation code, get some ideas, and maybe those ideas are simply, hey, we've got it fine. But if if you have suggestions on improvements, bring them forward, and let's all, executive and legislative, get together and see if we need to do anything better.
John, you still have the floor.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I would ask, and I guess it might be premature, but I want to ask that this be put on next month's agenda. Once again, and maybe after the first of the year, we come forward with some real reform that we can all be comfortable with.
Ms. O'Leary.
Well, I just want to point out, as I know this council is well aware, the chief appoints the people to these boards, and then we confirm. And a lot of times, our confirmation, we never have, or as long as I remember sitting here, anybody that the council's put up to be considered on some of the boards. And I think that the way my understanding is, in the past council oftentimes had a certain amount of board members that they appointed, confirmed by the chief, and the chief appointed some and it was confirmed by the council. And I think in order to get a broad perspective across the line, that is what we need to do, instead of the appointments all being made by one person and then they're never questioned. They're always confirmed. And I think in order to have the confidence in the boards that we need, as we can see in the past situation that we've just been in, oftentimes the board doesn't take the authority. They are led by the administration and what to do, some of these things. I'm talking about CNI. And so I have seen this in my sitting down there as an advisory board member. So now I want also please for this council to consider what we have to look at in those respects and let that also be a consideration.
No, Linda.
Todd? Yes, sir. This is just something that I've always thought about and I've been asked questions. But since it's come up about accountability, would you mind researching what accountability is if you're sitting on one of these boards and you're not a Cherokee, or if you're CEO and you're not a Cherokee? You kind of bring them into Cherokee court and they have to go. You know, those type of things. What is the accountability of these people that's out there
Supreme Court jurisdiction, discussion only. Mr. Hembry or Mr. King?
The purpose for this topic is that I've had some discussions, unofficial discussions with members of the Supreme Court, and they would like to have some type of mechanism, either through rules or legislatively, to streamline constitutional questions. Okay, and I told them that we would look into that, and that's basically the reason why this topic is here. I think next Monday, is that correct? Next Monday is the annual judicial conference. What time? 1 o'clock. If you be there, I would recommend all of the counselors that can be there be there. Number one, just to hear what they have to say and let them address some of their concerns directly to you, and see if there's a way that we can. I mean, I have some ideas about how they could get court rules that would possibly streamline those types of questions.
Hold on just a moment. Thank you, Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee Court.
I'm not sure I understand. Supreme Court original jurisdiction that goes directly to the Supreme Court, or?
Well, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is outlined in the Constitution, and we're going to bring parameters off of it. Now, the question is, I'm full of colloquialism. There's one way to skin that cat. And how do you get from point A in the district court to point B in the Supreme Court in the fastest, most appropriate fashion, without disturbing too much the authority or oversight of, or the authority of the district court and the oversight ability of the Supreme Court. I think what would be most beneficial is to get constitutional questions to the Supreme Court as fast as possible, instead of going to court, in reality trying your entire case in front of the district court, letting them make a decision, and then them having to appellate review of that decision. It's for this question only. Those are the issues that was conveyed to me, and I talked a little bit with Diane about it, but not much. But I think a lot of it could be clarified if a number of you could go to the judicial conference, Monday, and let them exchange exactly what it is that they want.
So we're looking at more of a comprehensive jurisdictional issue as it relates to all the new laws according to the new Constitution.
Yes.
Okay. I understand.
Okay.
Ms. King?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had intention of bringing something that is regardless of discussions with members of the court under the new Constitution. Measures of codification that occur to change any law that said judicial appeals tribunal, district court, and so on. Another matter was that the court operators set rules that need to be validated by the body. And I believe that not all matters that go directly to the Supreme Court is the model of the United States, and as Henry alluded to, in favor of the district court process and appeal. To me, any constitutional issues should go to the highest court, and as much as possible, everyone needs to get involved in it. I think it would be a work of this body to bring that change about.
Any other questions? Is there a particular question that you're going to suggest?
Well, what I'd like to do is we brought it up for discussion. Okay, now it's all the committees aware of it. I will formulate some type of plan. I obviously will be working with Councilperson King, but the reason we wanted to have it on this agenda is to get everyone's idea again for this. So if Counselor has an idea or suggestion concerning these topics, contact myself or Mr. Keene or Chairperson Fraley, and let's get it all together.
Thank you very much. Unless there's other questions or comments, good idea. Any announcements?
Move adjourned.
Second.
Moved and seconded, adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign.